Sattler Files.
Hello and welcome to the Sattler Files, and it is that time of the week again when we are graced by the presence of extreme police intelligence.
Well, that's what it'd be. Who wrote that? Oh, I wrote that.
You wrote that?
Yeah.
No, I wrote that. Neil Royle, Inspector Neil Royle, retired. Welcome back to the Sattler Files.
Good morning to the other half of the Sattler Files, your good self.
I am, yes. Well, I don't know if I'm the good side or the bad side, but
You're one of the sides.
I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of them. Now, it's been a big weekend. It's been a huge weekend in the eastern states with extreme weather over there. Now, that brings to mind, you've got incredibly surging seas. You've got floods everywhere. Why do people put themselves in danger? Why do they drive over bridges that are flooded?
Exactly.
What on earth possesses them?
Well, the surfy type one, that's always quite interesting because it's, some people look upon it as a bit of a challenge that they've got these monstrous seas and so forth, and it is obviously dangerous to do so. And the thought that
very dangerous, and they put out warnings saying stay out of the water.
And so what happens? These guys go in there, and something does happen to one of them, or more than one of them. Then some poor person on the beach has got to go out and rescue them.
Yes.
And put themselves at risk and so forth in these situations. And it's happened time and time again. And I can recall cyclonic type rains and so forth in the Pilbara when I was up there, and there were bods who were, when the floodways were running really well, they were in wheelie bins and so forth, and sort of like shooting the rapids in wheelie bins and things and so forth. And really humorous, I know.
How does that not end badly? I mean,
well, I can recall one getting jammed because all the water goes through the culverts into the stormwater drains, and of course, surprise, surprise, when there's no water there, you can probably walk and stand up in these culverts and these drains, overhead drains. When there's a million litres of water running through there every half an hour, and suddenly the roof space and the head space is diminished, they get jammed in there, don't they?
No air.
And then someone's got to get in there and drag them out.
And someone's got to get them out. It just surprises me. I mean, let's not get on. Well, we will get back onto our bandwagon. So we're criticising surfers who take extreme risks and put themselves and other people in danger.
And indeed, not just so much that, but people who take the punt and cross flooding rivers when there's obviously signs saying the height of the water, etc., and what not to do.
The car gets washed away.
Yeah, and people die.
Yep. And other people are sent to look for them.
Yep. And I know there are situations where people say, I had to get home urgently, or I had to get to a hospital, or I had to get whatever. But that's not the case. Far and away the majority of the cases are those who just, I'll just try and get across.
Yeah.
I'll get across.
I'll do it. I'll be able to do it.
I can recall at Roban, some years back, at the Roban River in the town of Roban, we were coming back on patrol from Karratha to Headland, and because the cyclone was coming and the rivers were already up, and we got to the Roban River and we're looking at, and it is really flooding high, and the floodway markers are up there, and we looked across the river. We were in an F350 vehicle at the time. We looked across the river. There was a fair lane on the other side, and the guy had his doors open and front and back, and all the water was running out. So my offsider looked at me. He was driving. He said, well, if he can get through there in a fair lane, we'll get through in this F350. I'm going, because I'm really courageous in those sort of things.
No, it's not a matter of being a coward. It's a matter of being sensible.
So here we have a couple of police officers, and one would think both in full control of their faculties, and the one I'm with, the driver, says, if he can get through, we can get through. We've got a lot of heavy gear on board here. We'll get across there. And the cyclone's coming. I want to get home. Okay. Off we go. We get halfway across, and the vehicle starts to float and starts to bang into the guide rails and things on the posts on the. I thought, here we go. We're off this floodway in a minute and gone. So we did finally get footing and get across to the other side. And
that was pretty touch and go.
It was. So I said to the guy in the fair lane, how the hell did you ever get across? And he said, that grader over there pulled me over. See, they get the information first.
Yeah,
all the information first.
Well, goodness me. Well, we're lucky to have you here today.
He was dragged across with a grader.
Goodness gracious.
Unbelievable. So, and that's happened in the past, and indeed the ones at night time that try the nighttime crossings, and there's been a lot of tragedies over the years in the north of our state and other places where people try to get across at night time, which of course is another added peril.
Yes. If it isn't dangerous enough, let's just add a dark night.
Yeah, darkness, exactly. So, and the thing, and people even when it comes to those floodwater type things, people don't think of the flow-on, and that's not a play on words of any kind, the flow-on effect of things, but there are poisonous snakes in the water. The further to the north you go, there are saltwater crocodiles and other things in the water. They've had crocodiles in the streets of Catherine, I think it is, in the early days when they had floods and so forth.
Yes.
So all these things, why put yourself at risk? And eventually, and the next morning, it's all gone away.
Yeah.
So you've lost 12 hours or 6 hours or 5 hours, but you're still breathing in and out.
But you're alive.
Exactly.
You're alive, and you and your car are intact. Now, it's also been an incredible week for shark attacks in Western Australia.
Yeah, sure has.
Certainly has. We've had one fellow lose his life, and then
the lady,
more recently, she was diving and unfortunately was attacked and killed.
Yeah, and I know that the people love the sport and so forth. And
people love the ocean, but sometimes you need to respect the ocean for what it contains.
Well, absolutely. As an old, long-time spearfishing person, as I was in my youth and other things, certainly there were certain things you never did. We didn't spearfish at the top of the slack water, at the change of tides. We didn't spearfish ever when it was overcast. Yep. And miserable,
yes.
Because all those sorts of things we knew were what encourages other things out there
to come inshore.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I know she was 2 kilometres out, but there's a lot has been said about the water temperature, that at this time of the year when the water is particularly cold, sharks will be around. They like the cold water.
Well, great whites certainly do.
Great whites certainly do, and they're the ones to worry about.
Yeah, and they hang around in the Antarctic and all the rest of it, and in the cold water currents, and they do. And it doesn't matter whether it be 400 metres or a kilometre offshore. One the other day they actually caught on drumline was 300 metres offshore. Yeah. So it matters not, and it is the situation and the conditions, I suppose. And and I know it's tragic. People lose their lives, and it is, and that someone's lost a loved one, and they didn't go out to the beach that day.
2 families
That's right.
have lost.
And those people didn't go there to surf and to go spearfishing or snorkeling with the intention of being eaten.
No.
So, and it has happened. But again, draw the parallel with if you're on a surfboard out in the ocean, or you're snorkeling and diving out in the ocean, in the open ocean. If you're on a bicycle riding across Kenya, you'd expect a lion to come out and probably have a go at you, or a tiger, or a cheetah, or whatever. Those things that are out there. That's what you would, and you wouldn't do it because you have no protection. And it's the same situation in the ocean. You take the risks. And I'm the biggest sook on the face of the earth when it comes to this. And the white point that gets me comes out of the shower. It says plug hole, because I'm not going to go out anywhere near it out there.
No, I can understand.
So
that.
are they justified? Let's get out there and drumline and let's catch the one.
Well, I don't think it's going to prove anything. It's not going to change anything.
No, it doesn't. No,
it's not. It's a different thing. It's not like it's a dog that's tasted blood and you know that once they draw blood, they'll never be the same sort of dog again.
Exactly.
Well, that's different. But at least you know that that's really the culprit. How on earth would you know one shark from another shark?
Unless they catch it and do the old post-mortem.
And do an autopsy and see what's inside.
Yeah, and they can't even draw a parallel or a likeness to the tiger that terrorises a village and takes people to go into the water to wash their clothes or get a drink and so forth, and you have a rogue tiger that's come back because he's too lazy or he's too injured or whatever it is. And
to go and hunt.
That's right. And he can't catch gazelles, so he can go and catch some person washing their clothes at the river. Different story altogether. Now you have an ocean full of hundreds of thousands of different sort of creatures out there and sharks and so forth. So you're going to go out there and we'll put a drum line there because a shark took a person in this vicinity, so the shark will wait in that vicinity forever, I suppose, until the drum lines come in. No, they do 200 and 300 kilometres a day.
At least.
Yep, of course they do.
When the ones that they've tagged, they travel thousands of kilometres.
Yep. I'm for tagging them to find out what they do, where they go, and for the information.
For research purposes, yes.
But the drumline stuff, it's full of so many holes about which one they're going to get, if they're going to get one.
I think it's just the government's knee-jerk reaction to
they've got to do something.
Placate the masses.
Yeah. Well, they can't have a situation where West Australia, and particularly Perth and so forth, and West Australian coastline with outstandingly good beaches, and
it's going to kill our tourism.
Yeah, well, they're trying to attract people to come there for the tourism and so forth. Give it a rest during the winter, because I don't think that many would come here in the winter time to frequent our beaches and lie there when it's 6 degrees and blowing a hurricane.
No, exactly. So, they can stay in England for that.
That's right. So the die-hard sports people who will sail, surf, fish, swim,
the extreme sports
day in and day out, no matter what the weather is, they're the ones there who are going to put themselves at risk. And probably if any of my family members were keen to do those sorts of things, I'll be having a word in their shoulder like here.
I think you'd be taking the car keys off them, wouldn't
And say,
you?
well, is it really wise to go and do this?
Yeah, well,
So-
this is true.
But, and I know.
I mean, we're not being pessimistic here. We're just being realistic. I mean, there is a danger, so stay away from it. There are enough things that are going to get you in life. You don't actually have to, wave your hands around and say, here, shark, come and get me.
Exactly right. And there are lots of them out there. That's their domain. They're out there, lots and lots and lots of them. So, look at the one on the tiger sharks off, where was it? In the north, about 70 of them feeding on a whale carcass.
Yes, that's right.
Off Geraldton, was it not? Or Brollis or thereabouts, I'm not
up
sure.
that way somewhere.
70 plus tiger sharks because there's a whale carcass in the water. So all the tourist boats are there going, oh, wow, look at this, it's great, this is outstanding. And, a spectacle you won't see very often. But there were those in those vessels that said, had the compulsion to get in the water with them because I think it'd probably be safe because they're busy eating on the whale cut.
Not necessarily.
And I thought, who's saying this? Person saying this on television? I thought, this is called a feeding frenzy. So you add some more to the smorgasbord, you'll be in it, friends and all.
That's if you're at the smorgasbord table and you're being offered one sort of food and then you see a nice curry at the other end, as in a human being, you go, I'll have a taste of that one.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, good. And I have these innermost thoughts about, say, crocodile attacks. I'm using crocodile attacks and shark attacks and all sorts of things at the moment. I have criticism for the tourist vessels, and you see in regulars on television, they'll stand at the back of this big tourist vessel with their 30 paying customers on board and hold
Dangling
out a bamboo
chicken.
pole with a chook on the end of it, and the crocodile will jump 10 feet out of the water to get to the crowd and go, wow, and they'll take a photographs of it and beauty. Then they wonder why some poor bugger in his 6-foot tinny has a 6-foot crocodile jump into his boat.
For the same reason.
Exactly.
For the same reason.
And so why are they training, they're actually training crocodiles to do that sort of
Have you
thing.
ever been to a crocodile park?
Yep.
The most boring experience in your life. All they do is lie there, unless it's feeding time.
Well, when the guy comes out with the broom or the plastic rake and goes whack, whack on the water and he says to you, watch those line of bubbles, and you see, because it's looking at getting a cup of cocoa because you can't see anything.
No.
And a line of bubbles comes along and everyone's standing there outside the fence and the crocodile man's saying, he is actually 2 feet away. And I thought, I wonder how many times a day this guy does this before he runs out of luck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, crocodile goes leap out of the water because they're ambush predators.
Well, I must have been unlucky because I've never seen a crocodile in a crocodile park actually do anything.
Oh, we all jumped
They're
out 6
obviously
foot
well
ourselves.
fed.
This bloke was well trained. He jumped out of the water and everyone jumped back. And I thought, oh, yeah, beaut, this is
Well,
great.
you got your money's worth. I
Oh,
haven't.
I did indeed. And I saw it and I thought, oops. And so, so that all that tended to do was to cement further in my mind that I don't go in any waters around there either. Because these happy-go-lucky chompers are out there.
If there are signs up saying crocodiles in this area do not swim, surely you would not swim.
On the Victoria River in the Northern Territory.
There was another crocodile attack not long ago.
Yep.
I mean, all these things.
Well, she was swimming at night time.
She was swimming at night time, exactly.
With a big sign
on
saying,
a beach where
"Come
there
and
was.
get me."
Oh, there is some thought that because it was dark, she didn't read the sign.
Oh, okay. You would go in the water at night time.
Who would go in the water at night time anyway?
Don't know. And you got to wonder what encouraged you to
That's
do
what
so.
swimming pools are for.
Well-
So it's safe.
Well, yeah, and even that swimming pool they're going to build near the ocean at Cottesloe.
Yeah.
Want to make sure no big waves crash into that because there'll be something in one of those as well.
Of course there will
I'm
be.
pretty pessimistic, I know about those
You
sorts of
are
things.
indeed.
They're going to eat me.
But that ocean pool that they've got in Sydney is amazing. I mean, I think we should have one.
They're going to do one at Cottesloe, aren't
Yeah, they're going to do one. I think it'd be great. It would be good, but we don't get the waves like they do in Sydney. I mean, the extreme weather watching on the TV over the last few days has been amazing. I mean, everybody's talking about that swimming pool that's hanging off the cliff.
Oh yeah, I know. And they're all saying those who put the rock buffet at the base of the cliffs there in front of their houses spend an extra few $1,000s chucking big boulders in there. Wasn't that money well spent?
Well, it's all gone.
All the boulders are still there.
Yeah.
And people's houses are hanging over the edge. So,
Literally hanging over the edge.
So there's probably some people who spent some money quite wisely who going to have houses now.
Yeah, I know.
Because then the insurance company's going to go, well, gee.
You didn't insure
did you have
for
a
flood?
rock boulder clause in your policy? Or, well, you should have done.
Well, a lot of
you
people
watch.
wouldn't have even had flood clauses. I mean, places have flooded that have never flooded before.
Yep. And it is a wake-up call to everybody. The forces of nature are very, very strong, as we know.
Yep.
And,
whether it's sharks, whether it's waves, whether it's weather, crocodiles, you name it. There's going to be something out there to get you.
Yep.
On that happy note, what else do you want to talk about today?
I think I did a bit last week and the week before on bicycles.
I saw you on Channel 9.
And didn't turn me right off.
Didn't turn? No. You were great.
Thank you so much.
You were very, very good. There you were with your radar gun, clocking the speeds of cyclists. I have a pet hate for cyclists, I have to tell you.
Because you're a Sattler, that's why.
I'll declare it now. It's got nothing to do with him. It's got nothing to do with Howard. It's the fact that if I'm driving and there is a cyclist to my left on the road, I'll do everything I can to avoid him. I will go around. I'll indicate and go around. They not scare me. They just make me feel nervous because they're so erratic. You don't know what they're going to do.
Well, the thrust behind this story was because there are cycleways, they're dual-use paths, and they're the roads, and now, of course, the legislation to allow cyclists on footpaths. And so the thrust behind the story was, well, that being the case, how inherently dangerous is it for pedestrians? So to get some idea of that, because the argument was, well, how fast do they go and what's their braking capacity and how observant are they and what are they doing? So the idea was to go out in the cycleways and pick one which ostensibly is indeed dual use, but was the one beside the freeway. So it would get less pedestrian traffic than most other ones that are around shopping centres and houses and the like. But there's no doubt about it. There was speeds up above 40 kilometres an hour on bicycles there. And yes, indeed, it wasn't much traffic on there as far as bicycle riders go, but they were still doing 40 kilometres an hour. And when you consider the site we're using is near a footbridge, so people went across the footbridge onto the foreshore of the river to do their bits and pieces. A lady in a gopher came across the footbridge while I was there, et cetera, children. So with these people doing their 40 kilometres an hour with their headsets on and their GoPros and helmets on on their cameras and on their helmets and so forth.
The GoPros on their helmets, yes. Music in their ears.
Yeah, well, I don't know how oblivious they are to what's going on around them, but I thought that if someone stepped out from the bushes or a kid ran across from the bushes there, all right, they can't get to the freeway because there's a fence there, but they can certainly get from the river to where the fence is.
Absolutely.
And kids do those sorts of things. And I thought, well, what is the braking capacity of these bicycles and what's the swerving capacity? What's the reaction time of the riders? And all these things come into play, which have never been tested, of course. And then the argument of, they're going to put speed restrictions on them so they can't do this, that and the other. Fine. So how do you impose that speed restriction? Do you put signs up every 20 metres on every footpath? And if someone is caught speeding, well, the police won't be policing it. It'll be the local councils.
Yes.
So what do the rangers get out with the radar, as I was doing, and get someone doing 40? What happens then? No, he's gone.
Yeah.
What do you get on your bicycle?
And chase
him down, or do you get on a motorbike and chase him down, or how do you identify this person when he doesn't stop? But then the argument comes in, well, you need to identify the bicycles. Oh, here we go, back to number plates on bicycles again. So, and then they're wearing helmets, and then on and on and on and on and on, and it all gets down to what's reasonable when you're riding a bicycle, and you are indeed you're a pedestrian on wheels. So mingle in and take your place within the others who are entitled to walk there and indeed walk there. And I know
how much damage can a cyclist going 30 or 40 kilometres do to another person?
Well, I know of a fatality personally that occurred when I was working. Where a Japanese tourist at the bell tower.
At the bell tower.
He stepped back to take a photograph and whack, he was hit and killed.
Yeah.
By a person on a bicycle. And I know
a friend of mine was walking on a footpath, and the same thing happened to her. Ripped a shoulder, hurt a leg. She still has trouble with it now.
Yep.
And what do? Do you sue somebody on a bike? You can't.
We've got to find them first.
Yeah, well, that's about it.
So, and we were standing near the footpath on the cycleway there. And yes, indeed, I know there's the code of the West where the cyclists ring their bell to make you aware that they are of their presence. Yes, that never happened. I got a few that were waving goodbye to us but weren't using a lot of fingers.
I bet they were. That was the bit that didn't make it to film.
It's true. I said, get this stuff because it's the attitude creeping in again. But indeed,
there's a personality type that ride bikes. It's their breed of their own.
There was lots and lots of tooting of car horns and so forth on the freeway right beside us about people and whatever, because I thought they assumed we were out there dragging money off these people.
Yes,
I don't really know. But the point I'm making about the dual use path is, and it's marked for people to keep left on it and so forth. Pedestrians walk here and so forth. But not many 4-year-olds can read properly and know what it means. And if you're going to ride in these situations there, and that's dual use paths, let alone footpaths, which are for pedestrians.
Well, it's not just the footpath. You've got driveways.
Yep.
Somebody backing out of their home is not going to see a 4-year-old in their rearview mirror.
Well, it's already happened before, terribly, tragically, many, many times, hasn't it?
Of course it has.
And I suppose if you check with the Australia Post about the number of their posters who get knocked off their bikes for exactly the same thing, it was quite a few some years ago.
Yeah.
I know, and the onus is always on the person reversing to take extra care, etc. But these things do happen, and why put an extra hazard in the way with the footpaths? And we know we soon have our children riding on the footpaths. You don't want a 6-year-old, 5-year-old riding out in the road.
Absolutely.
So have them on the footpath, and they're learning to ride their bike and so forth, so they'll be wobbly and they'll fall off and they'll hit things and so forth. So it then becomes, it's highly pertinent for the person who's teaching the kid to make them aware there's other people here, little Tommy, that little old lady over there, and that one walking the dog just here, and the fella on crutches, and the fella on the in the wheelchair, and learn that tolerance and intermingling and manners when it comes to riding in amongst people. And unfortunately, I think probably the older you go, a lot of instances where the manners just go with it.
They do. They go out the window. But when people get their driver's license, they have to know all the road rules.
Yep.
Before you can get your learner's permit, you need to know what exactly is going on. Why aren't there some checks and balances for people on bikes?
No one to do it. Again, that's why they did away with licensing bicycles all those years ago. Another thing, they did away with certificates of registration on the car windscreen because someone's got to print them and someone's got to issue them and someone's got to post them and someone's got to pay for them. And indeed, if you're riding a bicycle, you don't need to know any road rules.
Obviously not.
No, you don't. And that's, again, it behoves the person teaching this younger person, and you can't put 30-year-old heads on 6-year-old shoulders.
No, but you can't be expected to. As a parent, you're the one who is supposed to be watching them.
Yep.
And it always beggars belief when I see people riding along merrily with a trail like little ducks following behind them. They don't even know what the kids are doing behind them. They don't even know if they're still there, let alone following them.
It is an important issue, and perhaps this is the best time of the year not to do a survey, because not when you go out riding their bikes for fun when it's like this.
No, of course not.
Today might be all right once you get over the sub-zero temperature, but
it's very cold, but at least it's clear.
But it's not T-shirts and shorts weather on your bicycle today.
No.
So I would suggest that in the coming warmer months, when more and more get out there, and it's more conducive to riding your bicycle, then we're going to see some difference.
Yeah, we will indeed.
Afraid so.
All right, Inspector Royle, what other...
Well, I didn't see you in the queue at Aldi this morning.
No, I'm not in the queue at Aldi. I'm here with you. Are you going to go and join one of the queues this afternoon? Aren't you curious?
No. And actually, sort of,
yeah,
you
are.
Bit,
Come on, you are. We've seen the ads on television. Yeah. We are all.
And I like the ads where the guy says, the lawnmower's in amongst the popcorn or something or other.
Something like that.
Or what he said.
And said, look, here's a caravan cover. Now I just need to go and find the caravan.
They're pretty good ads, those, I reckon.
They are very good ads.
And as for a sticky beak value to go, oh, wow, gee. But
is it going to have an impact on Coles and Woolies?
Coles and Woolies have got their own brand, so is Aldi.
Yeah.
And 95% of Aldi stuff is Aldi stuff. So it'll come from...
And totally imported.
Yeah, absolutely. There might be some bits and pieces local, and there would be, but
if it's
hardy
cheap,
impact.
Well, how can you stop people? I mean, if it's cheap, who is going to buy local when they can buy the same thing or a generic version of the same thing for half the price?
I do, for example. I don't buy the...
Do you buy WA milk?
I don't buy $2 milk, no.
Right.
I buy from and I can use the Browns and those sort of people. They're the people who are doing it hard.
Somebody told me the other day that, don't bother. It all comes out of the same factory anyway.
Well, it doesn't matter. Well, the point of the matter is if subsidised milk at $2 for 2 litres as opposed to the other price for the other ones, I don't buy the subsidised milk. I buy the stuff that I hope will help the farmer because they're getting a really, really rough deal.
They certainly
do. A disgracefully rough deal.
Very, very.
And they'll go to the wall, a lot of these people. And a lot of people already have. So, for that reason, I will support the local product and not support the local product that's cheapest.
You're going to go to Aldi for a sticky beak, but you're not going to spend too much money.
If someone drags me along, I'll go and have a look, but I don't really care that much.
I've got a funny feeling that Mrs. Royle might be dragging you along.
I'll have to wait and see because the queue started because the shop opened at 8:30 this morning and the queue started while it was still dark.
Oh, for God's
when I checked around, she was still home. So no, I don't think so.
She's not going. No. Is there what? There's a Joondalup one, and then there's one down in Kwinana.
Kwinana's first. That's going now today.
Yes.
And then there's Joondalup coming up and two others somewhere else, and then we have about 40 of them or 30 of them before in
we'll
the
have
state.
8 very soon.
Yeah, and 30 more. But I don't care. I'm not going.
Not going?
Nope.
I'll hold you to that.
I'm going
to ask you next week, have you been?
I'll wait until the pamphlets come in the letterbox along with those other 25,000 I get every day.
That you never read and you put straight into the recycling bin anyway.
I look at the ones that got vehicle parts and motorbikes on them.
Oh.
Ain't many of them.
I was going to say.
There's not many of them.
There's very little temptation in the letterbox for you.
I know. But I'll wait and see. Perhaps by this time next week, when I return, there'll be other things to talk about that have really taken our interest and taken our fancy that need criticism or praise.
Okay, and we'll be right here to criticise or praise.
You bet.
We like criticism a little bit better than that. Neil Royle, thank you so much for joining us. Stand by. More on the Sattler Files shortly.
Bye now.
This is Sattler Files.